Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Yourself?
Pretty good. Well, tonight we're joined by a special guest, Micah Mcdonald. We had him on a couple months ago talking about the Spurs Raptors trade, a former high school and college classmate of mine. Thanks for being back on.
Hey, thanks for inviting me back on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have a lot of topics to get into today and tonight. And to start off, the Bucks, they had a big win against Toronto a couple of nights ago. And even though they're 4-4 since Thanksgiving, they had the acquisitions of George Hill and Jason Smith, and that's something where they hope that can be more of a stabilizing force. And last year, they took a ton of mid-range shots, I think 17.3 shots per game, and now they're only at 6.2 attempts. And they're second in offensive efficiency, averaging 114 points per 100 possessions. And that was the same mark the Rockets had last year. So different coaching change. They're spacing the floor more and having a pretty good start. So Michael, what have been your thoughts with how they've started, and also just how deep of a run they can make with a pretty stacked top tier Eastern Conference?
Well, with the Raptors, I mean, when you get an MVP candidate like Kawhi Leonard on your team, you're gonna go somewhere if he actually wants to be there. Now, I remember we talked the last time of how I would hope he would fall out and do nothing there, but he didn't do my wishes, so I'm kind of bitter about it. But but I mean, he's excelling, and when you have that type of player to form your team around, even though personally I don't think he's a leader type, he's just an incredibly good player. And when you have the likes of Kyle Lowry around him, and Siakam's doing incredibly well this season, and I remember I told a friend at the beginning of the season, watch out for him because he's extremely good.
Yeah, has a Draymond Green skill type asset.
He scored 17, I think, against the Bucks, and
yeah,
I mean, he's just a solid player. And when Valanciunas doesn't perform, Siakam performs, and so this team is just good. And I think, especially with the coaching change, I think it helped. Now, Dwayne Casey was a great coach, but not a deep run coach. But the coaching now is set up in a way, especially with the addition of Kawhi, to say, okay, let Kawhi do his thing. But what Kawhi does is he lets other people do their thing, and that's what he learned in the system with Popovich. Is Popovich lets people do their thing, but right. He wants it so that player, especially the star player, like back when there was Tim Duncan or back when there was David Robinson or Manu Ginobili, he let them know, hey, I want you to do your thing, but that means including everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so that's what Kawhi Leonard can do. He'll rack up consistent 5-6 assists on a daily basis, and that's just what he does. And so he lets his players play. And not to say that DeMar DeRozan doesn't do that, but DeMar is more of an ISO player and driving the post. He does not a great three-point shooter, but he's a driving player, and he's a scorer mid-range. So I think the system better works with Kawhi, and so that's why I think they're performing so well. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's going to do well. I think the blend of all the players loving it there and the coaching, they're really getting behind the coaching, which is extremely crucial after Dwayne Casey left. Because if Dwayne Casey left, everybody was kind of like, okay, what did you just do? And right. I know that the people were really mad about them getting DeMar DeRozan out there. They love that person, not just the team, but the city behind him. And
yeah, so it was their best franchise player.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're finally getting the team.
Well, yeah. Not now.
That's true. When you're finally getting the team, and especially the city and the administration behind them, then you really have a beautiful blend where the pressure's not on anymore because they're performing so well.
Yeah. And Savon, Toronto is definitely one of those top teams. I think they're 22-5. Milwaukee, though, it's interesting because they've made a coaching change as well, and they've spaced the floor more around Giannis, and he's definitely a top 3 candidate in the MVP race. What has stood out to you in terms of how they've like kind of changed their philosophy and now they're right up there with the likes of Boston and Toronto?
I think they didn't change their philosophy. I just think Giannis continued to grow as a basketball player, as a front court and a back court kind of player. We all know he can finish at the rim. We all know he's one of the monster at the rim who can shoot threes, that can create mismatches. He loves getting to the rim and finishing. We know that. But I like the addition to Eric Bledsoe from last year from the Suns. They just put all the pieces together for them to continue to win. But when you have Giannis playing like that, it's extremely tough to beat them. And like they beat the Raptors, it's extremely tough to beat those guys and everybody playing together. I like Middleton too. He's a streaky guy. He can shoot the 3-point when he's hot, and he plays great defense at the 3 position. So they have all the things, the tangible things that you want as a basketball team, and just Giannis continuing to be Giannis. That's the biggest point for the Milwaukee Bucks. That's their MO. Let Giannis be Giannis.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially like with Jason Kidd and Joe Prunty, like you said, Tavon, there may have not been a philosophy change, but at the same time, I do think they're surrounding Giannis with more shooters and they're spacing the floor more, which is something that I don't think they did as a high of a level as they're doing now, which is why I think there's such a big seismic change.
I'm sorry. I totally agree with that. And then they added Brook Lopez, who has increased in his 3-point shooting as a big man when with the Lakers. I think they got a great deal with him because he improved so much before leaving the Lakers. Transitioning playing with Giannis is an upside for those guys.
Right.
But like you said, they are surrounding him with shooters. They already have Chris Middleton. They got a point guard who can play defense, and Brook Lopez is continuing to be Brook. So, yeah, I totally agree with that, Wellington. Look, I know I love your points, man. I just piggyback off of them.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, this team, I think there may be a philosophy change that we may not think of. Because up to this point, when they had Giannis, is get Giannis better. But now Giannis is here. Get people around him and makes Giannis be Giannis. And so he's arrived. To me, he's the leading MVP candidate. He had 19 boards against the Raptors. He had 19 and 19 against them. And his nickname is perfect. He is a freak. It's not even fair with a guy with that length, with that wingspan, with that height, with that can dribble like that can shoot like that can
just take a dribble from the 3-point line and he's to the rim already.
It's incredible. And so I think there was a philosophy mindset change is, okay, we've been grooming Giannis to this point. Even last year they were still doing that, but now he's arrived. He's here. He's, to me, the leading MVP candidate. And so now it's, okay, how can we best put people around him that can gel with him? So I think Chris Middleton is probably one of the most underrated players in the NBA. He is I think top 5 shooter in the NBA. He's a good player and he can play defense.
Right.
So now with the interesting adding of George Hill, I mean, you saw what George Hill did when he had Popovich in the system. And so when Popovich, I mean, he was an unknown, and then one year, bang, he's a great player. Then he goes to Indy, and so I think he kind of dozed off in Cleveland because the coaching wasn't really helping him out. It was like, hey, let LeBron be LeBron and nobody else get in his way. And so now, while you have the top 3 player in Giannis, that system is not let Giannis be Giannis and let everybody out of his way. So you let Giannis be Giannis, but we're going to put people around him that can excel because of Giannis is there. And I think George Hill will excel in that system. And I think that's just going to further bolster them into a huge deep run into the conference final, at least. I mean, they're.
So you think they'll at least get to the conference finals?
They're a legitimate contender.
That's
Savon, it's interesting because I think going into this season, especially with the change of Kawhi and Danny Green coming to Toronto, I felt as though Toronto is like this is a team that's more than capable enough to get to Eastern Conference Finals. But then Jimmy Butler goes to Philly. Milwaukee has taken a huge jump. Boston is I think currently on a 6-game winning streak, and they're kind of turning things around. And there's kind of been a slow, gradual process. Like who are kind of the two teams you would like in that Eastern Conference Finals, even though it's extremely very far away.
I think it's definitely hard to tell right now because, well, I just look at the Celtics and they're trying to finally get to a point where they're comfortable with the lineups that they have. And you have the Raptors who are playing great basketball because Kawhi has found the newfound love for basketball again because he's not out of the Spurs shadows. But then you look at the Milwaukee.
The white snowman.
Nobody hates the Spurs. Nobody hates the Spurs. He's the first person to ever hate the Spurs. Spurs are the fan favorites. Even if you're the Lakers, you love the Spurs because the Spurs are the Spurs. I don't understand it.
I don't think he hated the Spurs. I think he hated where his game was going with the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, stagnant.
As a Hall of Famer? He was going to be a Hall of Famer. We knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer his second year in the league.
If you look at all the guys, Parker, Manu Ginobili, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, all those guys were great, but they were situational players and just they weren't gods. They weren't LeBron James. They weren't Kobe Bryant. I think that's what he's chasing. He started as
Tim Duncan was the best power forward to ever play the game. The best.
That is true. Best power forward of all time.
To ever play the game.
But he wasn't that guy. He didn't want to change his game because he didn't have to. That was his MO. He was a guy who's going to play defense. He's going to bank shot. That's his game. Kawhi.
Yeah, and he let Kawhi play his game.
No, Kawhi started as a defensive guy, and then he wanted to be a two-way player. He felt like he couldn't be a two-way player with the Spurs.
That they didn't like that guy when they took George Hill, who had a breakout season, and traded him for this nobody.
Yeah, that was huge.
He's irrelevant to somebody. He is a 15th and the 15th pick of the draft. We get rid of him. It's like, who's this guy from San Diego State? And yeah, sure, he couldn't play offense. But we groomed him so he could play offense. Within 2 or 3 years, he was one of the best offensive players in the league.
I hear the bias in your
no, I admit she's biased, but you have to admit that, first of all, Greg Popovich is a top 3 coach of all time.
Of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Of all time. And so when you take a relatively unknown player who only plays one way and he wants to play 2 ways, and by the time he was done with us, he was a top 3 offensive player. We made him that way. And so, yeah, there's bias there, but you have to see that we took him from just a defensive player to a top 3 offensive player in just a couple of years.
It was
a same gradual.
System is crazy. It's really good, but to say that his system brought him to the player he was, that's all him. I think that's all sheer will to be a great player. And you look at him,
but when you're playing to the best
defensive player. Started as a defensive player, and he grew himself to be a two-way player. Then he felt like he couldn't be that type of player. His game couldn't flourish to where he wanted to the heights. You look at Kyrie Irving when he played with LeBron James. He felt like he could not be the Kyrie Irving he wanted to be with LeBron James.
We put him as the face of the franchise in the second year that he played. He was the face of the franchise. But everything was built to go around him.
All the glitter and gold. If it was all glitter and gold in San Antonio, he would have never left. We don't know the underlying things that happen in that organization. It may look good on the surface, but deep down in the room was unhappy. That's the most important. He was happy where his game was going, and he was unhappy where the direction where the San Antonio Spurs wanted. That's why he left. That's why he didn't.
I see that. And, me and Wellington talked about this the last time, and with the whole controversy of the Spurs diagnosing him because – as their best player, their franchise, the face of the franchise player, we're not going to put him out on the court if he's not 100% because we need him out there. Like you saw what happened when we played the Warriors in the conference finals, and we were destroying them. And as soon as he got out, we lost it. And so we wanted to make sure, okay, is he ready? And so what he did was undermine the best organization in the history of the NBA, and probably the second best organization in the history of the NBA, especially the best in the modern like the past 10 years, one of the best. And so you undermine their knowledge and their level of, okay, we know how to treat great players, and we're saying you're not ready yet. And so he gets to have a second opinion, and he leaves the whole season, and he doesn't even travel with the team, and he stays in New York most of the season as a franchise player. Like, if you want to be a leader, stay with the team. You don't need to stay in New York. You're not doing all these tests every single day.
But who's missing
so
who?
He undermined them.
Micah, who's missing who?
The Spurs are definitely missing one.
We're missing them.
who?
Yeah, we're struggling, and I admit, like, I knew we were going to struggle. I mean, DeMar's playing great, but I knew we were going to struggle. And it was not that we didn't want him there, but he didn't want to be there because he thought we didn't have his best interest at heart when we sat him longer than he thought he was supposed to.
I don't think it was just not the injury. It was more a basketball than me. Like, I could keep reiterating and reiterating that it was bigger.
I get what you're saying.
Popovich,
I mean,
it was bigger than the Spurs.
Not everybody love. I guess there are players that don't like it, but he's the first one I've ever seen that's like, I don't like it here. Like, nobody. That shocked me as a lifelong Spurs fan. I was just like, how do you not like that team? How do you? Yeah, I felt betrayed, but I mean,
it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented for a player like that to leave San Antonio.
He was my favorite player.
It's a business. Yeah. These players get shipped around like they're pieces of meat or pieces of furniture.
Right.
No one bats an eye.
But we're not the ones that shipped him, though. He shipped himself.
When a player wants to leave an organization for his own benefits and on his own business ventures, then it's bad. It's seen as taboo. But when an organization ships out these guys like they did DeMar DeRozan, like they did Isaiah Thomas,
now you're comparing these crappy teams. You're comparing these crappy teams to San Antonio Spurs, man.
Finds his interest somewhere else. He feels like he's not benefiting from this team that's supposed to be the best organization in the league, the best whatever hoorah on the surface. When a player wants to leave, it's always taboo, but when the organization flips it around, it's business. I'm just saying, it's a bit biased, but it's business.
Here's while we miss him, we're better off without him because we need people that want to be there. And so the whole part of morale, the whole part of teamwork. If our best player doesn't want to be there, the whole team destroyed. Now, I'm not saying that we have a better record. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do better with Kawhi, but I think we're better off without him because he didn't want to be there. And DeMar DeRozan is probably one of the most loyal basketball players to ever play the game. He loves his team wherever he is. And as soon as he got to the Spurs, like, I'm going to love this team. I'm going to invest in this team. And that's the kind of person that I want. Now, while Kawhi is an incredible future Hall of Famer, I don't want him there if he doesn't want to be there. And so that's why I think we're better off without him.
One more question, before we move on.
Yeah.
So now we said Popovich is one of the greatest coaches. We're a great organization. Can he show us why he's the greatest coach that ever lived with the team that he has now? Can they make it to the playoffs? Can they make a big run? You say the system makes
now they're just trying to stay relevant.
Well, now
because
you're telling
is that great, or did he have talent around him that sprouted? We didn't know who they were. But they had talent. He got guys from overseas. He got different guys from whatever. Yeah. But is Popovich that great of a coach? Can he turn his team around with the talent that he has?
He is that great of a coach because he took a second to last pick in the draft, Manu Ginobili, and turned to the best sixth man of all time. He took an inexperienced
I'm talking about recent.
Frenchman.
I'm not talking about in the past.
But I'm telling you,
now.
if you're gonna, I'm answering it in kind of a long way. But if you're gonna stake his legacy as a top 3 coach on this one season, he has the longest streak. Of course, back in the old days of the Celtics and the Lakers, but he has the longest active playoff streak, and last year just ended the longest active 50-plus win seasons in the history of the NBA. And so that's his legacy. And the thing is, he may have had Tim Duncan as the number 1 overall pick. He may have had David Robinson. But he took players
David Robinson.
I'm giving you that. But then he took players like Tony.
Bowens. He had
one of the best players of all time.
Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Then he had
I'm telling you, because this is why I'm saying this is because they had those two. Those two were the expected star players.
Yeah.
The other players like Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Michael Finley, Robert Horry, Bruce Bowen, those players were not expected to do anything. And here's one other person that I will give you. Danny Green got waived 3 times by the Cavaliers before he came to the Spurs. 3 times by the LeBron list Cavaliers. They didn't have LeBron. They didn't have LeBron. He can turn around.
His system isn't still relevant right now in this day and age where the game is transitioning.
Is it still
relevant? Okay. Is that unbiased, or that's just like just clear basketball
There's
knowledge?
there's always going to be an amount of bias if you're talking about your favorite team, and I'm not.
Savon, just like the Green Bay Packers for you.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not biased though. Like
And
I'm
so-
biased, but I know how to pull back and say, okay,
Right.
we have a
And-
problem.
I'm thinking we're not going to make the playoffs this year, and it's going to end a run that is like since the Boston and Los Angeles days, where they were the only two teams basically in the league. And so this type of person, you're gonna have one or two bad seasons. There was probably one season that Phil Jackson didn't make the playoffs. He's a terrible GM, and he was a terrible GM in New York. That doesn't damage his coaching legacy. And so you're gonna have off years because you're gonna have to transition. Players are retiring. Tony Parker left. Manu Ginobili retired, and Kawhi Leonard left. You're gonna have these years of fluctuation. But how are you gonna take those years? And there's gonna be bad years. There has to be bad years. Even the greatest coaches will have a bad year or two. And we're not too far off. We're 5 or 6 games behind first place.
Yeah.
So that's just how tight the West is.
Extremely
the West
tight.
is so tight. Like the top team has 9 losses and we have 14. We're not out of the mix. Now we have to pick it up, and people need to do better. Now we've had injuries are the real trouble this year on the point guard position. Our best point guard, DeJounte Murray, best defensive point guard in the league, out for the season, torn ACL. And so when you have things like that happen, and Brent Forbes is one of your better point guards right now, like you're gonna struggle in that season when your best point guard is injured for the season, the best defensive point guard in the league injured for the season, and now you have transitioning players as DeMar DeRozan, who's a great player, but obviously not as good as Kawhi. But now you're having these transition times, and so I don't think one bad season will damage his legacy. I think they still have a shot to be in the playoffs this year. Now, to me thinking, there's significant doubt that they will this year, but I don't doubt Popovich is going to do something and turn it around. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. But with all the injuries and the transitions that we've had to have this season, I think that we're still doing okay. And while we're 13 and 14, we're still struggling. We just beat the Lakers by what was it, 3 or 13 points? I can't remember which one, but we beat the Lakers, who were doing well. So we're contending. Now we've had some bad losses. And I was worried there for a minute there until we beat the Lakers. But
yeah, they had a huge third quarter. I think they had a huge third quarter against the Lakers on Saturday night.
We had like 30-point losses to the Bucks, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was just bad. And so we're going to be struggling this year. But this is a transition year. This is a time for Popovich to prove that he is indeed the number 3 coach. But if this season goes bomb and we're one of the worst teams to win the Western Conference, his legacy does not change at all, because he has been so great in turning so many average players into good players, and so many good players into great players, and great players into Hall of Fame players. That's just what he can do. He's taken the likes of Danny Green. He's taken the likes of Thiago Splitter and made them relevant names. And he took Aaron Baines to be who Aaron Baines is now in Boston. And so that's just how good he is in being able to take players that nobody sees as anything and turning them to great players. And so this is just a transition year. We're going to struggle. We still have a shot. We're going to see. But I don't think it damages the legacy at all.
Yeah. Transitioning to Luka Doncic, he's been one of the league's like most exciting players so far, and went on an 11-0 run by himself against the Rockets. I think Saturday or Sunday night, and he's averaging 19 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists, and he's shooting 39% from the three, and kind of pretty much the clear front runner for the Rookie of the Year. And I know there's the thing about the Atlanta thing, swapping him for Trae Young, and how that trade will be remembered on draft night. But what have been your thoughts so far on his like extremely strong start and him just fitting right in and running the offense?
Like you really expected the 19-year-old European Player of the Year to struggle? I didn't.
Right.
I'm like, first of all, he's a rookie. but he's 19 years old. But he's had this professional.
He's played in the pros before in Europe.
Yeah, and Europe is a decent league. And so when I hear, oh, Luka Doncic is going to do well, like, have you seen that guy play? He dominates everybody as a teenager. And so when he's doing that against the European League, while granted they're not the NBA, but they have solid players and they have solid teams. I mean, I remember one year, I think it was Real Madrid beat the Spurs in a preseason match, and like a friendly match, and it was a good Spurs. So they're not bad teams. And so when I'm hearing Luka Doncic come to the league, I'm thinking whatever team he's going to be on, they're going to dominate. And it's turned out that the Mavericks are doing really well, and they have players that are performing really well. And so I think they're going to ride this. I think they're going to get in the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to go deep, but Luka Doncic is a player that I had no shock to see that he was doing well. I'm shocked when he doesn't do well because he's that great of a player and that prolific of a point guard.
Yeah. Savon, you were, I don't know if I would say skeptical, but not fully in or all in terms of, the just being invested in buying him. It's definitely been like a quick just ascension in terms of how he's been playing so far. What has kind of stood out to you the most in terms of his like very impressive ascension?
Well, let me give him praise before I tear him down a little bit. I like the way he finishes.
He's not high on Luka, Micah.
I wouldn't say high, but I know he's a potentially going to be a great player. It's still early. He's a rookie. He has a long career ahead of him if he stays healthy. But I like the way he continues to try to break out his slumps when he has them. I like his consistency in that retrospect. But I do like his ability to shoot the three-point ball and to inadvertently be a leader. But a lot of people do not put out his mistakes or his flaws on the basketball court. He went from 3 from 13 before he went on that 11-0 run. He played terrible defense against Chris Paul and James Harden. I know it's kind of that's a big thing to do, but it's hard to guard these guys. He played terrible defense.
I would say so.
Angry basketball. He played angry basketball. He made bad mistakes fouling guys. I think it was a frustrated foul they had to look at for like 30 minutes when they played the Rockets. But nobody pays attention to that. He went from 3 for 13, had 3 turnovers before he went to 11-0 run. Is this guy going to be good? Yes. But please point out his flaws too. Like James, I will point out James Harden's flaws.
I was about to say, you better start talking about James Harden's defense if we're going to talk about Luka Doncic.
Oh no, that's already given. We already know James Harden does not play defense.
He's the worst defensive player in the league.
He's terrible. He said he puts no effort in. He just wants to be an offensive player. But we're talking about Luka. But I know he has so much potential. He's going to be a great point guard today. He's really slow though. He's really
kind of pudgy.
I didn't know how slow he was. Yeah, I didn't know how slow he was, but I like his consistency in trying to get out the slump. But a lot of people got to highlight his flaws. He went from 3 for 13, 3 turnovers. Come on.
I would agree with that. I mean, you could say that with any star. Point out their flaws. There have been plenty of games that LeBron
but he's
James
not a star just yet.
Terrible shootings, and yeah, I agree with that.
He hasn't earned that right yet. He's a rookie.
You're right. I agree. But what he's done with this Mavericks team is kind of incredible. Now, the thing that European point guards have that a lot of American point guards don't is the court vision and leadership position as a traditional point guard. Because the way that we groom point guards today. Now, I'm not saying that there are non-traditional point guards in America. But the way that we groom them are as player scorers and passer scorers, but mainly as a scorer. And they don't facilitate as well. You see Trae Young, like he can pass the ball, but what does he want to do? He wants to shoot the 40-foot shot. That's just what he wants to do. And so that's the way that we kind of groom is like scoring is better. And so when you see the likes of, I'm going to go to Tony Parker, one of the best facilitating point guards of all time, as a true point guard. We can go off these branches of point guards, but as a true point guard, has the ability to create buckets for other players. Luka Doncic can do that. Now
he didn't do that against the Houston Rockets. They had 1 assist.
You have games that he mess up. I mean, everybody has games to mess up. I think holding him to 1 game to mess up is just
more. You want me to give you more?
Everybody's gonna. You can give me more, but everybody has.
Yeah, I mean, he still is a rookie, though.
Game. To say that, the thing is, he is a rookie, and he's
Yeah.
playing in a much better league.
Though. You're putting him on a pedestal. He's a rookie, but you're putting him on a pedestal already.
I have put him on a pedestal because he's exceeded. He has exceeded expectations. Now, to me, he's met mine. I thought he was going to do like this, and I think he's going to get better. Now he has to. I think the organization that he's in, he could be in a much better organization, be a much better player. But he's been able to do things. Now, rookies are going to mess up. Rookies down the ages, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they've all messed up like this in games. Sure, he went 3 for 13. And I agree that you have to point at the flaws, but at the end of the game, the 11 points mattered, and that's what matters. Like, everybody's going to have bad shooting.
It was other plays that kind of went towards them winning that basketball game. And this is why I say he's not the guy that everybody thinks he is just yet, because his teammates has not bought in to what he is just yet. If your team is not buying in, that's a red flag. Because they're fine giving him the ball, but they don't believe that he's that guy just yet. You can look at the body language and how those guys move the ball.
When was the last time that a rookie point guard have they bought into? It's been a long time since a rookie point guard has been bought into. It's like, all right, we're going to let you do whatever you want on the court. And that's just
Trae Young's bought into.
That's because they're the Atlanta.
Yeah, but he still has huge defensive issues.
No, but who is there to? But he's bought into on the offense side of things. We're talking about the offense. He's not bought in yet. Luka Doncic is not bought in on the offense.
Yeah, but if you're talking about streaky, Trae Young is as
you're also
it can be as streaky as the.
You're also going to have to think in that round.
Mm-hmm. I said who's bought. You said what point guard has been bought in. Trae Young has been bought in. Markel.
You also have to think, and now
that's true.
Changed up his shooting game. It's a lot of point guards have been bought in.
This is a minor issue, but
like the first 30 games.
Mm-hmm. This is a minor issue, but you also have to think about language barrier. Now, I agree he probably speaks English, but the language barrier is there. The whole different lifestyle. I said it's a minor issue. But the whole lifestyle of moving to America, now it has to be there. People just think, oh, you gotta acclimate. You're gonna acclimate very well. But these players, they're going halfway around the world and having to adjust to that. And so, to me, having a person that played in America and just going to another American team, that's difficult going from college to the NBA. But going from halfway around the world to here, there's barriers that you have to cross, and it's a lot more difficult for those type of players to succeed. And so while he's getting there and he's doing a better job, he still has a ways to go. I'm not giving over the fact that he's got a long ways to go to be labeled a star or a great player in this league. He's got a long way to go, just as any other rookie in this league does. But he, as I think Wellington said, he's the lead rookie of the year candidate because he's shown himself to, while having bad streaks at times, being the most consistent rookie in the league. He's the most consistent. And to say that he's not bought into, I don't really buy that he's not bought into. I don't think you have to say, all right, he's bought into, and then he's bought into. But
Micah,
the way that he's been able to facilitate.
Wellington just left the call. I think his connection was bad. Sheesh, Wellington. Oh, there you go. Hey, you back, Wellington? Hello?
Where'd he go?
Wellington. Oh, he just texted me.
What happened?
Can you hear me? No, I don't hear you.
Man, he's messing. Dude, this is like an episode of First Take. I'm loving this.
Yeah,
this is so fun, dude. This is great. I like this.
His connection is look. No, he left again. Okay, let's see if he can join back us.
All right.
Just getting good. It's just getting juicy while
I mean, what else want to say this? I mean, who on the team, the Mavericks, has any right to say, all right, now we're getting behind him? Like, they're veteran players. Who, DeAndre Jordan?
DeAndre Jordan, Harrison Barnes, and the other, I forgot.
Wesley Matthews. That's all you got.
No, the other guy, the shooting guard, the young guy. Oh, jeez. Let me look at my notes.
What did I miss?
Wesley Matthews?
I've been completely disconnected.
Dennis Smith Jr.
No, I agree. He's an incredible player. He's been something. I'm not denying that fact. But to say, I mean,
I just don't think they bought in just yet, man.
When you're the Hawks, you have to buy into that point guard. There's nobody else on that team that can do anything. And so you have to buy into that point guard. Say, all right, you were great in college. We are a terrible, terrible team. Please help us out.
That's what they have to do. I can give you about point guards. Like they bought into Lonzo. They not bought in as heavy.
They shouldn't have bought into Lonzo. Lonzo's terrible, man.
Lonzo's an extremely good. He's an extremely good defensive point guard.
He is a good defensive point guard.
He's that point guard. He's definitely a facilitator. He's a finisher at the rim. He just can't shoot well.
Yeah.
He should not have been number 2 in the draft. He should not have been that high. I don't believe it at all.
I think so. But you look at guys like even Steve Nash was bought in when he went to he was with the Mavericks. He was bought in. He played tennis.
There's a player. Oh, I think he may have been either college or high school, but like Steve Nash's godson is an incredible player or something like that. I can't remember where he's at, but I mean, yeah, Steve Nash was a player that bought him. I mean, they had him, and then they had Dirk, but then they got rid of Steve Nash, and he sent him to the Suns, and he was like, okay, I'm just gonna destroy everybody here, and so I mean, I think saying that he's not bought into, well, he's not as bought into as Trae Young. I still think they're giving him the minutes, they're giving him the ability to facilitate, and when you're a point guard playing the amount of minutes that a rookie point guard is playing like he is, there has to be some level of buying into him to be able to do his role as a point guard. If you're not buying into your point guard, you don't have a point guard. And you're having somebody else do the work that Luka Doncic, while streaky at times, he does pretty well.
Right.
So
and I'm not taking away that he won't be bought into, because they're finally giving the minutes to finally the isolation that he desperately needs as a basketball player. But right now, they have not bought into his abilities fully. They're still trying to
I can agree with that. But I was understanding of saying he's not at all bought into. I think there's some level of buying into. I agree that there's not complete. There's not complete.
Team, yeah, and you're getting the amount of minutes he's getting. Yeah, but he's not fully the team. Because if you look at plays like Wesley Matthews, there was a couple of plays where Luka was wide open and Wesley would take those shots. Dennis,
Wesley's just not a smart basketball player. Shots. He's a decent basketball player, but he doesn't have the highest IQ that he needs to at that position.
Well,
would a Wesley Matthews trade, if they traded their expiring contract for Tim, like let's say Tim Hardaway Jr., do you think this, like Savon, do you feel like this is a team that can still be in the hunt for the playoff race, like not just now, because I think they kind of have had a favorable schedule and are about to like enter a tough stretch, but do you see this team as a team that can stay in the playoff race?
If they added Tim Hardaway?
Yeah.
I think most definitely, because I like him as a player. I like guys who can finish at the rim and who can get to the basket. That's my biggest thing. 3-point shots are fine and dandy, but I like guys who can finish, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be consistent or on fire all the time. You're going to have to put the ball down and create your own shots. I like those type of guys. And then you add that to Dennis Smith Jr., add that to Luka Doncic, who's going to be the guy who's going to be inadvertently transitioned into a 3-point guy.
Right.
Then you have 2 other guys who can finish at the rim, and you have Jordan rebounding. You got Harrison Barnes Harrison Barnes get back to the way he was with the Warriors, then this team has so much potential, but he hasn't been that guy.
I mean, I think he had 30 points the other night. I think against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Few and far between. They are very sparse. But he's inconsistent.
With Wesley Matthews shooting, he can hit. He's consistently hitting 3-pointers in the game. His field goal percentage is just so inconsistent. When his first game back, he went 4-12. Next game, he was 5-9, then 4-7, then 5-13, then 6-12, then 5-9, then 6-13, then 3-10. he is very inconsistent. It's going from 500 to 300 to 600 to 400. It's very inconsistent in the way that he's shooting the ball. While he'll hit the three ball from time to time. I mean, last game he had 10 points. The game before that he had 21. Like, he's not consistent. He doesn't get rebounds. He doesn't get assists. He doesn't get steals. And while he turns the ball over relatively little, when all he can do is score, and when he doesn't score, he has a 10-3-2 night like he did his last game in 26 minutes. You need somebody that's better, and I think Tim Hardaway would be a better person now. I don't think Wesley Matthews is a bad player, but when all you can do is score and get maximum 3 rebounds in a game and 2 assists, you got to be better than that. You got to be a better all-around player. If you're just a scorer, you're going to be gone. And I think Tim Hardaway can get the assists, can get the boards. As you said, he finishes at the rim, but he doesn't just finish at the rim. He gets the boards at the rim too. Mm-hmm. And so Tim Hardaway would be a much better player for him.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. A huge upgrade.
Better player for him.
Yeah. Transitioning to the Clippers and Grizzlies. The Clippers, I think they were 11-3 in November, and they've kind of struggled so far this month, being 1-3. And overall, though, this is a team that they don't have household names, but their depth has been outstanding. Montrezl Harrell is, a 6-man candidate, and has been a spark
He's on
plug.
My fantasy team. I'm happy.
Yeah. And he's been a spark plug off the bench. And then comparing to Memphis, they only won 22 games, and Mike Conley was sidelined with a heel injury. And now they play at the slowest pace, 96.3 possessions per game. And they're one of the top 3 defenses in the league, along with the Celtics and Thunder. And, they commit the 3rd fewest turnovers in the league. And Jaren Jackson Jr., he's been one of the skills in the draft, because he has the mobility to defend on the perimeter, and he's got the great instincts and athleticism and length to go along with that. And Marcus Gasol has had a defensive player of the year type season so far. But Micah, compared with those two teams, which one's like strong start, even though they've kind of struggled recently? Like, which one's strong start has kind of stood out to you more?
Man, that's difficult because both teams, to me, I thought they would be at the bottom of the West. And to me, I think it's the Clippers, just the extremely strong start they had. They were number 1 in the West at one point in the year, and they're only one game behind OKC, which that surprises me is how well OKC is doing. I didn't expect them to do that well. So OKC is number 1, but at one point the Clippers were there, and they're only one game behind. So while Memphis is only 3, I think the Clippers was fully not expecting this. I didn't expect – while I was hoping Harrell will do well, I didn't expect him to do this well. And just the other players, you see, he'll do okay or they'll do bad. They've all exceeded their expectations, and the coaching has exceeded their expectations in the way that this team has played so consistently well while they have struggled. But as you said, they went 11-3.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And nobody thought that they could do that. And while they're struggling right now, we'll see how this leads into the rest of the month and then coming into the new year. But to me, I think it's the Clippers, but almost as equally the Grizzlies. And just Marcus Gasol's old. He's a consistent player, but again, he's exceeding his expectation. Those players are doing well. Michael Conley has been as consistent as ever, but he's doing better than when they upset the Spurs as a number 8 seed. Like, they're doing things right, and they're doing it well. And so both teams are being consistent while struggling. They're doing it well. They're getting the job done. So, but for me, I think the Clippers are way more surprising to me as being as good as they are, even while they were struggling before, or no, they're struggling now.
Yeah, and Savon, with this Memphis team, they're going back to the grit and grind brand of play that they usually had. But when Mike Conley and Marcus Gasol are both healthy, this team is definitely, to me, a top 6 or top 7, type seed in the West, if they can stay healthy for the entire season.
See, that's the thing. If they can stay healthy, Conley has been injured for the past couple seasons, to be honest. But when he's there, he's the number 1 guy. He's the leader of the basketball team. But we all know injuries are a part of the game. That's any sport; they're a part of the game. But without him, without Marc Gasol is a great center. He's probably going to be a future. I think he's better than his brother Paul. But without Conley heading this entire thing, then it's going to plummet. They're not going to go as far as they think they will. But I'm just saying, without Conley, that's the number one guy. Marc Gasol is going to get his points. He's going to be a great defensive mind on the court. He's going to do his own game. He's going to back it down. He can shoot too. He's the prototypical big guy you want. He's better. I really think he's better than his brother. I know a lot of people think Paul is better than Mark, but heck no. I have to say Conley. But without Mike Conley, they're not as good.
I agree with you in that Conley thing. The last game when they played Denver, well, Denver's doing really well, and I'm glad that they're doing well because they were so close to getting in the playoffs last year. You look at the starters playing. Jackson had 6 points, Anderson had 9 points, Gasol had 7, Conley had 19, and Temple had 7. 4 of the bench players scored more than all but 2 of the starters. And so when you're that inconsistent, they only lost by 6 to Denver. And so I think a great pickup that they had was Jaren Jackson Jr. But Michael Conley has to play well. And Temple's playing okay. Anderson's having struggled. He went 4 for 10 that game, but he gets consistent rebounds and assists. But then you have off the bench, you have Green, but Shelvin Mack, I think needs to have a bigger role now. He's playing 24 minutes, but he's been playing so well, and Shelvin Mack is such a good player. I think you need to put him in more. And I think that'll help I think he needs to rotate with Temple. I don't think Temple needs to have 34 minutes in the game. Put Shelvin Mack, give him more minutes because he's been playing extremely well. But I definitely agree. You have to have Conley playing consistently well. Well, he had 19 points. He went 5 for 14 from the field goal. He went 5 for 14 and 2 for 8 from 3 points. So he has to shoot better. And so I think that's the problem that you'll end up having is Michael Conley is prone to getting hurt. I mean, it stinks. I mean, that's what he is. And so when you're having him carry the load of the team, and he's playing like 33 minutes a night or something like that, when you're having him carry the load, it's going to weigh on him. And when you have inconsistent players, all but him scored under 10 points that game. All but him scored under 10 points as a starter. And so when you have that struggle and you have that inconsistency, I think it's going to bear down. I think he's probably going to get injured at one point. But if he doesn't, he's just going to get tired. And I think the lack of depth in their team, as the inconsistencies of Omri Caspi and Joakim Noah and Michael Brooks, I just think they're just gonna wane and they're gonna get tired. And so I think they're going to drop off, and that's why I gave the Clippers the upper hand as the most surprising start. Because I think they're actually going to keep it.
Yeah.
I do too.
Is the Clippers? Yeah. But to you though, I know that we were just talking about Kawhi. It's interesting because the season with Toronto for him, it's been clouded around like this is just a 1-year rental, and the Clippers have been named a team that could possibly acquire him in the offseason because of just the assets that they have. And also the fact that they have, 2 max slots for free agents available if they don't give Tobias Harris a max contract, which they may with how well he's playing. But
they need to. You got to keep Tobias.
He deserves it. Yeah,
especially after the trade from Blake Griffin, they're getting those guys too. Tobias is an unknown guy that's consistent, but the one guy that doesn't get enough praise he was the 6th man for I think a year. Lou Williams.
He had 33 the other night.
Talk about Lou. Lou is keeping his team together. He really is. He's keeping his team together. He doesn't get any praise for it. But Tobias has been playing lights out too.
Here's
go ahead.
Player. I mean, Gallinari has had 25 points in this last match. He's having 37 minutes against. I mean, granted it's the Suns, so it's not that hard to score points against them at all. But I mean, even Marjanovic has come out of nowhere and been inconsistent. While he had a hot streak at the beginning of the year and he got injured, so he's kind of waning back. He's still playing decently well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing incredibly well. And then you have, to me, one of the more underrated shooting guards in the league in Avery Bradley. And while he was at the Celtics, he was an incredible player, and he should have had more. He should have had more recognition than he did. So you have the starting 5. And then you've got Montrezl Harrell on the bench and Patrick Beverley and Theodosius and Sindarius Thornwell. Well, Sindarius Thornwell doesn't even play that much. He's a good player. Then you got Williams on the bench. So you've got a deep bench. And also with this push of we could get Kawhi next year. Let's keep.
How likely do you see that happen? Because I think the two teams that are in the mix are the Clippers and the Raptors, and it's kind of a toss up right now.
Lakers.
I don't see that.
I hope for his sake he does not go to the Lakers because he will not. I mean, first of all, while LeBron can play any position, and you're going to have a battle for the ball, and it's going to be a clash because I still got some animosity to Kawhi, but he was my favorite player ever since he came into the league. So I still hope he does well. So I think the best fit for him will be either the Raptors. I mean, look what he's doing right now, and I think it'll be conditional how deep they go in the playoffs. But I think the Clippers are the second best bet. But I think it may turn into a Paul George story. Paul George says he's going to stay 1 year, and now he's staying because he loved it so much. And I think that could be the same thing for Kawhi. Before the season started, I mean, we talked last time. I told you he's gone. He's gone at the end of the year, and that was my thought because I didn't think he was going to do well. I didn't think he was going to gel with the team. But he's a great player. And so we'll see if he can.
The phones. God. You're not just going to skip over that he won't go to the Los Angeles Lakers to play with LeBron James. No,
I don't think.
Skip over that.
I don't see it happening.
Obviously, he wants to. I mean, that was the whole reason for him leaving to begin with, just having a 1 year stint. That was Paul George's reason. And and Paul George could have left. He could have gone with him. But I think what is better for him is to be the primary player. And as long as LeBron is in the league, he will not be the primary player. And LeBron will always
be the primary player.
I'm not denying that he can't be. But with LeBron, LeBron will always be the primary player as long as he plays the game. And I think the best thing for him, for Kawhi, I think is to stay in Toronto or go to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even in the Clippers, you're gonna have while Tobias Harris is nowhere near the caliber of Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
Tobias Harris is a scorer, and he's a good player. And so there could be clashes there. But you see how well that the Raptors have blended around Kawhi Leonard. And I think he'd be a fool to leave that system. Because as a good system, new coach, players that are playing around him very well, I think he'd be an absolute idiot leaving that system. I don't care if it's for the Lakers or anybody else.
Monkey Rich time. Scenario time. So if he goes to the Clippers, he wants the max deal. He's still on a traded deal. He gets the max deal after this year. Whether Toronto gives it to him or the Clippers, I think they don't have enough money. Well, the Clippers does have enough money to give it to him, but I think the Lakers are going to get him. But this is why I think he doesn't go to the Clippers. Now, if he gets the max deal, Tobias Harris is up for a max deal. If you pay Kawhi, Tobias has to leave. A.B. Bradley has to leave. I'm pretty sure Patrick Beverley is going to get rid of him. They're going to keep Lou. They're going to keep Marcin top because that's their cherry on top. But they
didn't even play last game.
But he's still that type of center who makes a difference. You look at the team in DC. Oh my gosh, Wellington, where are you?
Wizards.
Wizards, thank you. Look at the Wizards. How they lost the identity when Marcin top went to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Now you look at the Lakers. If they got rid of a lot of people, they still have enough bench to keep Kawhi, pay Kawhi. Kawhi can be the guy. LeBron James doesn't want to be the guy. He's going to be.
Yeah, but there have been reports that Kawhi doesn't want to be the second fiddle to LeBron.
He's going to be the second fiddle outside of basketball for the media. Of course, that's what the media does. But if we're talking about straight basketball, Kawhi is going to be the guy on that basketball team. LeBron James will have the ball in his hand, but he allows guys to be who they are. He allowed Kyrie to take over games. He allowed J.R. Smith to shoot the ball how many times he wanted. He allows players to be who they are. Look at Dwayne Wade. Look at Chris Bosh. Like all the players he's played with.
Oh, please. Knock it off.
He made them better. He's going to allow Kawhi to be Kawhi. And adding that defensive side to the Lakers that they already have, the team is going to be
LeBron makes teams better because he takes the ball and does what he does because he's the second best player of all time.
He's a facilitator. He's a facilitator first. That's what LeBron James is.
But he's going to dominate offensive possessions.
He can make almost anything happen.
He has to right now. But if he doesn't have to, look at when Kyrie was on the team, LeBron did not take over games. He let Kyrie do it. If Kawhi,
because he could create his own shot.
Because Kyrie
can do the same thing. He's gonna let Kawhi do that.
I mean, you wonder why Kyrie wanted to leave? Kyrie wanted to leave because LeBron was there. Because Kyrie wanted to be the person. So that's why Kyrie left, and now he is the person.
He wanted to be the face of the organization. He wanted to be the basketball guy and the outside of basketball guy. But Kawhi is at a sense where he loves basketball again. He's going to go somewhere where he can continue to love basketball.
There's also a sentiment for Kyrie, though, because Kyrie's dad tried out for the Celtics but gave up on his dream because he needed to support his family. So that's another sentiment that Kyrie wanted to go there.
Who gave you this information, Michael?
This is insider information, Savon.
No,
I'm going to tell you the inside information is commercial that Kyrie does when he plays with his father in the Celtics stadium. All right? He talks about it. So there was sentiment there that we hadn't previously known. But look with LeBron, I think we're going to get there. Kyrie's a point guard. He has a right to be selfish. He is
get out of here. He is
the best ball handling point guard in the league. And I'm a North Carolina fan. I hate any Duke player, okay? Wellington knows this. Wellington knows.
Hold on. Why are we talking about Duke?
Why am I talking about what?
We on this podcast, Savon, we always say very nice things about Duke, isn't that right? We always compliment Duke.
I hate Duke.
Yes.
I'm a Tar Heel for life. I hate Duke.
See, he's Mike is so biased. Get the bias out
Kyrie is one of my favorite players in the league, and that's got to tell you something. Because he didn't play for Duke. He went to Duke. I don't care. He went to Duke, and that's why I hated him. But he is such a good player. He has the right to be a selfish basketball player because he is the best ball handling point guard in the league. He's one of the best shooting players in the league. He can do it.
The Cavaliers for 3 to 4 years before LeBron came, and they did nothing. Given they didn't have
Who did he have?
I said, given he didn't have the talent, but he was the face of the organization for 3 to 4 years. Now, bring in back the big guns. Without LeBron, the Cavaliers would have continued down the same path of being trash if LeBron never came back. Because when LeBron came, we brought Kevin Love, we brought J.R. Smith, he brought a lot of other players. He brought Cal Korver.
Right. This is the problem that I have with LeBron James. This is the problem I have with LeBron James. This is why I think he will never be the greatest player to ever play the game. Because besides last year, he has had and his first run at the finals against the Spurs, which he got clobbered in. Thank goodness. He has had to have 2 stars and one of the best benches in the league to do anything, except last year. Last year was the first
he carried that team
that he actually carried a team. Now I'm not gonna deny when he left the Cavaliers the first time, they were absolutely terrible. And so he did something there. But when he went to Miami and he took all the players that you mentioned, and that's how he got those championships. Then he went back to Cleveland. Hey, let's take a whole bunch of other players back with me. And that's how he won the championship. So last year was the first year that I actually saw him be the second best. Well, be who LeBron won. I wanted
what he did before he even left. This is why I hate this conversation when he says he's not going to be the best player. This is why I hate it. This guy has taken the Cavaliers before he even left to the playoffs consistently into the conference final, which they lost because they didn't have the team. And then when he actually said, get me more players, the Cavaliers didn't do that. You brought in old Shaquille O'Neal. You still have Ilgauskas, whatever his name is.
Ilgauskas.
Players. You didn't bring in
Ilgauskas was a good center. Come on.
He was decent.
He was decent. You have
Anderson Varejao was a good player. Daniel Boobie Gibson, and you had Mo Williams at point.
Delonte West.
When you have
Mo Williams was an off-bench type player. And when he did start,
that was in his prime when he was in Cleveland.
Consistent as a basketball player.
When he was in Cleveland, that was his prime. And in the playoffs, that year, he had Daniel Boobie Gibson go off in that playoff.
So you tell me Mo
So he had help.
He did not have help with the Cavaliers. When he came into that situation, he carried that team as a rookie for all those years.
I agree with you.
I
think you're misunderstanding me what I'm saying. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying when he was at
when he carried this whole organization for many, many years. And it's the same thing what Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant had a lot of great players, and when the players left, he asked the organization, "Give me players." What they did, they gave him players. They didn't do that for LeBron. So you know what? LeBron didn't do it first. It was Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett who started this whole entire situation. They went to a team where they're going to give him the players and give him what he needs to succeed to be a basketball player and be a champion.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Because let's go with Kobe Bryant. He had the administration and the coaching and the management around him to be able to do that well, and so did Kevin Garnett. So did the Celtics back in the day when they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo.
There was better organizational structure.
They had the organizational
That's
structure.
What I'm saying.
And I agree with you. Now listen. This is why I think you're misunderstanding me. I said before.
I think I'm understanding you.
Except
That's
with
why
the exceptions
to go
of last year,
championships with people that he had.
Right. With the exceptions of last year,
at the Cavaliers, he didn't get it, so I'm going to leave. Business decision. When it comes back to this, when it's a business decision for players, it's taboo. But when
I'm not denying his reasoning for leaving. I think that's a good reason for leaving to play.
Knock against his tenure and his legacy for leaving the Cavaliers where they did not give him help. How does that? How is that a knock against his legacy?
My problem is not him leaving the Cavaliers to go win a championship. I don't have a problem with him having better players. I'm saying, except last year, and while he was at Cleveland before
he left the Cavaliers,
he cannot win a championship without 2 stars and the best bench in the league. He can't do it. And other players have been able to.
Without, if they didn't go get Paul Gasol,
first of all, they haven't won a championship yet.
The Lakers would never have won those championships without Shaquille O'Neal. When Shaquille O'Neal left, he won a championship with young D Wade and a bitch. We had Alonzo Mourning and all those guys.
I'm not saying that Kobe's the second best player in the league, though. Kobe can do it anywhere else. But Kobe stuck with his team, and they still were great.
He stuck with his team because they gave him players. The organization wanted Kobe to be
The organization is different, and so
this
is what I'm saying.
Basketball, though.
I don't think we're disagreeing a lot here. But I am saying that he can't win a championship by himself or with just decent players. He has to have
a championship by himself. Give me a team. Give me a player.
Well, you have to have an elite secondary player.
Okay, right. You have to have an elite secondary player.
Jordan. Do not say Isaiah Thomas. Do not say Larry Bird. Give me a player who won a championship.
I'm going to tell you. With those Boston and Lakers teams, there are only 2 teams in that league, and that was Boston and LA. So you have no.
Give me a player who won a championship without a bench and out 2 other players.
Okay. So. Obviously, I haven't thought about this that much, but here, let me speak. I'm just thinking back to the Spurs. When you had the first championship that they won under Popovich, they had David Robinson, the elite player, and the young Tim Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they had. The first championship. The first championship. They had some decent role players. They had 1 star player and 1 bright rookie.
Don't be biased.
One bright rookie. Now, I don't remember the first year. I think it was 1997 or something like that.
1999.
1999.
Against the Knicks.
Spurs roster. Okay.
All right, let's say the worst.
Let me check the roster right quick.
I'm about to check it for you, brother.
Okay. So, the 98-99 roster, you have Antonio Daniels.
You had Steve Kerr.
Mario Elie. Sean Elliott. Chris Garner. Andrew Gage. Jaren Jackson. Then you had Avery Johnson and waning Steve Kerr. Give me a break. Jerome Kersey, Gerard Green, Will Perdue, Chuck Person, David Robinson, Malik Rose, Brandon Williams, Brett Robish. You have okay. When you have a shooter, he's not the starter. He's just a shooter. He's like a Kyle Korver. He's a decent shooter when you put him out there. So if you're down a line, you need to have points. Now they had David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Their next best player was Avery Johnson. Give me a break. That's how they won the championship.
Okay,
They won.
I'll give you that year. Let's go on to 2002, 2003. We had Bruce Bowen, which was one of the greatest guys on that basketball team.
You know why? Because Greg Popovich coached him.
Tim Duncan, Steve Kerr was still there. That says a lot. He's still shooting. You had Tony Parker, David Robinson, Steve Smith. You're not giving me a team or a player who won without a
It's rarely happened, Savon.
It's
really.
I just gave you the 99. So I don't need to give the others. I don't need to give the others first championship.
1 year.
I need to give you one.
1 year.
And so I gave you one.
That year was terrible. They won other championships.
That's all you need.
No, it needs more. So why is LeBron getting the bad stick of things when he leaves, when the organization's not doing what they're supposed to?
Because
it's a part of basketball.
Because Kobe Bryant is not contending for the best player to ever play the game. David Robinson is not the best player.
His game mirrors Michael Jackson to a T.
Listen.
That's why he's not a contender.
Yeah, it's almost identical.
I'm trying to prove my point here. So let me tell you. Let me tell you. Well, because you haven't let me finish. Let me tell you why. Isaiah Thomas is not contending to be the best player to ever play the game. Dennis Rodman is not contending. The Pistons won. Dennis Rodman or Steve Kerr or Scottie Pippen is not contending to be the best player to ever play the game. David Robinson hasn't. Kobe Bryant hasn't. Shaq hasn't. These players have not. But LeBron James is, and that's why he needs to be able to win a championship with nobody. Because if you look at the first year,
Michael Jordan didn't win a championship with nobody.
Look at his
Michael Jordan has Scott before Scottie Pippen there.
He was 1-9, I think, in playoff games without Scottie
Pippen. You're talking about a big and Luke Longley from New Mexico. Oh my goodness. His point guard was Ron Harper.
Before Scottie Pippen got there, Michael Jordan did not win an NBA Finals. I'm not saying that you can't have one. Before he got to the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan did not win a championship. So
I agree with you. Now, I did not say that he needs to win.
In the NBA history, he did not win a championship by himself. LeBron James doesn't have a win a championship by himself. That's the point I'm getting at. Why does LeBron have to get if Michael Jordan?
If I had said that he needs to win it by himself, then I misspoke.
You just said that.
Well, then I misspoke. What I'm meaning is that he needed 2 star players and the best bench in the league to win it. Michael Jordan in his first championship had Scottie Pippen, and his next best player was Ron Harper. Now, when you have those players, and you didn't have a bench, you didn't. Who?
Harper wasn't a baller.
Harper was an okay point guard.
Wasn't a baller. Steve Kerr wasn't a baller.
No, they were not ballers. They were okay. They were decent players. But the thing is, his bench, he did not have a bench. He did not have a bench at all.
Your argument is irrelevant because Michael Jordan did not win a championship with just himself. If Michael Jordan
didn't I just say?
You know, Savon, when we were talking, Savon, this is how you know the LeBron MJ conversation debate can happen anytime. We started off talking about Leonard first, and now we're LeBron.
Hey, we grow on tangents, man.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that he needs to win it by himself. I'm saying he has to have a deep bench and a solid starting 5. That's what he needs to have to win the championship. Michael Jordan needed 2 players to win the championship.
Dwayne Wade was injured. Chris Bosh was injured. They didn't have a bench. They had Udonis Haslem. They had
who was a good player. I don't care how old he was.
Norris Cole.
Good player.
Defensive player. He was a defensive player.
Who was their center? Did Ilgauskas come with him or no? I can't remember.
No. He was there the first year.
Okay. I can't remember who was his center in Miami.
Was it Chris Anderson?
No, he was a freak, not just because he had tattoos on every part of his body, but He was a.
I think
player.
it was Joel Anthony. Joel Anthony.
He didn't get
Joel,
him started until
I think
later.
that was 1 year. Joel Anthony was this weird dude from Pensacola.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, how is he starting in Miami? But I'm not conceding LeBron's greatness. He's the second best player in the league to me, and of all time to me. But I mean, I don't know how we got here, but we got here.
This is extremely crazy.
Dude, I'm loving this conversation. We still got like 2 more topics, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We got half of this. We got half of the second topic.
We just reached half of the second topic.
I didn't say he won a championship by himself, man. That's not what I said.
He had Scottie Pippen.
He had 2 players.
Then he had Dennis Rodman. Then he had Horace Grant. Then he had Rober. He had Steve Kerr come off the bench, hitting jump shots. He had Luke Longley. Luke Longley was a beast.
Oh, come on. Now you're just giving him more credit than he's due.
No, you come on, Mike. You are really out there in outer space somewhere.
Listen, my dad.
I don't know where you are right now.
Listen, my dad. Let me give you something.
Because he left a team that didn't do anything for him. And
I don't care that he left. I told you that. Now, let me give you something. My dad, Luke Longley, is from New Mexico. My dad, born in New Mexico, loves New Mexico. He watched him in New Mexico. He watched him in the Bulls. My dad says that Luke Longley wasn't a great player. He wasn't even a good player. He was just there. My dad says that as a fan of Luke Longley and New Mexico basketball players.
Chicago Bulls. He did his job. He was a role player.
He was a starter. And if you're saying that he's a role player as a starter, then that's saying to how bad he was. He was just a role player as a starter.
No! Every start, you look at, even when LeBron James went to Miami, Chris Bosh went to Miami. He was a scorer and he was a defensive guy. When he went to Miami, he became the defensive guy. D-Wade was a slasher and flasher. He became just a defensive guy as well. LeBron James was the face. He was a scorer. He was a facilitator. Everybody changes.
I'm not saying he was the main scorer, but the other guys had to do their part. Dwayne Wade still scored the ball.
But when it mattered,
Chris Bosh still shot the outside
stuff. Chris Bosh was hurt. They couldn't go in that finals when the Spurs beat them, and LeBron James was cramping the first 2 games. Look, both of those guys
cramping. That thing really ticked me off.
Oh, come on.
Cramping. Nobody else was cramping.
If you ever caught a cramp, you cannot move. I've caught plenty of cramps playing football. You cannot move with a cramp.
No, I agree, but if he's the only player wimping out because the stadium's too hot, come on, you got an old man.
If you cannot move
playing harder than him
because you have a Charlie horse in there, you're going to be able to run down court.
I laughed at that one. I was like, you're supposed to be the best player in the league, and you're the only one cramping up on the court.
They beat the Spurs. They beat the Spurs.
They beat the Spurs because we beat the Spurs. Spurs beat the Spurs.
No, they beat you.
Listen,
it's on the win in the L column.
Game 6 will go down in infamy.
Let me tell you why.
Let's move on because
let's move on.
Just proved to me.
One second.
Why does LeBron James get the
I want to tell you why the Spurs beat the Spurs in that.
No, I don't.
No, let me tell you why.
Because perspective.
This is not a biased perspective because I'm bashing the Spurs on this. Because there was 30 seconds left. Listen, there was 30 seconds left in the game. We're up, actually 24 seconds left in the game, up by 6. Greg Popovich made one of the biggest mistakes he has ever made by having Kawhi Leonard as the tallest person out there, as a 6'7" player. So what happened is, since Greg Popovich stupidly went small, y'all got missed both of the threes that y'all hit. You had missed threes, rebounds, made threes. That's how we beat ourselves, because Craig Popovich didn't put in the center in there to get a rebound. So that's why we lost. We were 30 seconds away from winning the series with an old and decrepit team as the Spurs.
Yeah.
We beat ourselves, and that's why I'm saying we beat ourselves that year.
It's part of the basketball game. You didn't do the right thing. You lost. It's part of the game. No excuse.
That's why I'm saying we beat ourselves. If a team
wins by a field goal or 1 point, it's a part of the game. No excuses. Nobody gave LeBron James and the Miami Heat the big 3 any excuses when they lost against the Spurs the year before. So don't give excuses.
Because the Spurs were a dominant team.
No, don't give your team.
Well, that was the year after.
if Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh was
we
fully
got
healthy,
revenge.
that would have been a different series. But Wellington, you can move on because Micah has ruined my day with the LeBron James thing.
Wellington, while you were trying to figure out everything being disconnected, I told him, man, this is like an episode of First Take, and I'm enjoying this so much. I love it. I'm Max Kellerman, and you're Stephen A. Smith. And so Max Kellerman is the more logical one.
Of words using nonsense.
Yeah.
He uses so many. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Get on with yourself. I just love it. I love it. All right, let's move on.
But transitioning to Utah and Houston. Houston, they've lost 7 of their last 9, and they've given up 116.8 points per 100 possessions. And they blew a 19-point lead against Minnesota and was outscored by Utah by 27 in the third quarter. And it's so different from their last year where I think they were like first in offensive and defensive efficiency for most of the year. And now they're having these obviously the Carmelo the acquiring Carmelo didn't work out the first 10 games. And now there's increased defensive struggles. And with Utah, I think they ranked 27th in 3-point percentage before acquiring Korver. So 2 teams that I think when we looked before the season, we thought they'd be kind of like in the top tier of the West, but now they're in the bottom.
Right.
Which team has kind of struggles has kind of stood out to you more? Because I mean, obviously Houston, they were probably a game away from the finals, and now they're middling in the bottom tier of the West.
Jazz.
Yeah.
Rockets. As soon as they gave up Trevor Ariza, I knew they would be at the bottom of the league. When you don't have a point guard or when you don't have a defensive player and a decent player as Trevor Ariza right there where you need him, and you bring in Carmelo Anthony, who is not a star anymore, you're going to struggle. And to me, with the Jazz, you've got Derek Favors, Rudy Gobert, defending defensive player of the year. You have a breakout small forward in Joe Ingles. You got Donovan Mitchell and a good point guard in Ricky Rubio. And then you have Jay Crowder on the bench and a defensive player in Thabo Sefolosha and Dante Exum and now Kyle Korver. And you're telling me that you're the third worst team in the West? Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. You should be better than this. You should not be losing to these teams. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be 13-15. You should be 17-9. There's no reason for the Utah Jazz to be at the bottom of the West right now because they have such a good team and so many good players on that team that it is inexcusable in what is happening in Utah, and it's fully expected for me was what happened in Houston. I don't know why Utah is doing so bad. It's crazy to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, and Savon, like Donovan Mitchell, he's kind of regressed his second year. I mean, obviously in his first year, I mean, one of the best scorers in the league. Now he's kind of like near that bottom ranking in terms of scoring as well. What is kind of stood out to you more? Because Ricky Rubio, I think like one of the biggest, subplots to their great run was, I mean, he wasn't as healthy in the Houston series. And I don't know if that would have made much a difference in terms of the outcome, but obviously when he was shooting better, like they were a much better team, and his shooting percentage has also been down as well, as long with Jay Crowder not shooting as well either.
I think you just answered the question for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jay Crowder, they have a lot of guys that were on fire and they were hot. Last year they had the buzz. Gobert was considered one of the best defensive players last year. Donovan Mitchell came on the scene, finishing at the rim, dunking on people, stepping back, shooting on. Rubio had a new fresh of air, like a new breath of air. He was, Rubio's been in the league for years. He's been on a couple teams, and he was the leader on the basketball team. Now Rubio's not as healthy. He's not as shooting as his percentage is out. Donovan Mitchell is hitting the sophomore block. So it's a lot of moving parts. Gobert is getting dunked on, and it's a lot of things that happened the year before. It's hard to transition and to be that in. And that's why I praise teams like the Lakers, the Spurs, the Warriors that are consistent every single year. That they don't
bring the Warriors into this. They got 5 All-Stars on their team.
Well,
don't bring the Warriors into this.
That team. See, look, they built that team before.
Yeah, it was homegrown.
Draft picks and bring a guy.
You're right. I'll concede that. My problem with the Utah Jazz is why is Rudy Gobert getting 21 minutes a game?
Because
why is he playing less than half the game?
because now he's
Because
older.
of what?
He's older and he's been injury prone. We've seen him fight
Rudy Gobert
countless
was
injuries in his career.
You have the defensive player of the year playing 21 minutes a game. There's nobody in the starting lineup playing 30 minutes a game. Mitchell was playing 27. You got this guy on the bench, Raul Neto, who played 20 minutes against the Thunder. Rubio played 23. Raul Neto had 2 points in 20 minutes. He's averaging 4 points a game. And why is this dude playing 20 minutes in the game? Why isn't Rubio playing 34? I don't understand
because
it.
Rubio is ancient and this other guy is young. They're trying to
Ingles. Why is Ingles playing 25 minminutes a game? Ingles is a young player. He needs to be playing 34.
Conserving your best players for the end result.
You're not going to have an end result if you keep doing this. What they need to be doing is putting the players that can play.
Would you rather have Rubio playing 30 minutes and get injured and he's out until February, March? Or would you rather have him now, have him in increments and not put too much on him because you want Donovan Mitchell to be that type of guy that he was last year?
Mitchell's only playing 27 minutes. Ingles is playing 25.
I'm not talking about his minutes. I'm talking his productivity when he's on the court. Last year he had the buzz. This year he doesn't have the buzz. Rubio is old. You don't want to continue to get him hurt because he's injury prone.
I'm not denying that he's old, but Mitchell is still, while he's not being as productive as he was last year. Last game against the Thunder, he had 25 minutes, but only 19 points. If Mitchell is playing 31 minutes, if Ingles is playing 31 minutes, as he only plays 25, if Rubio goes up from 23 to 27 or 28 minutes and not putting Raul Neto in the game and putting Gobert instead of 21, give him 28. He's still not playing 30 minutes, but put the players that you know can play in the daggum game. It'll work. If your guys who who can defend, know who can facilitate, know who can score, if they're not in the game and your best player on the court is Jay Crowder, you're not going to do well. You need to have a better system and better rotations in place.
This game is not a sprint; it's a marathon. Like I keep saying, if you give him 30 minutes, he's going to have wear and tear because he's not as youthful as spry as he used to be when he first came into the league. They're trying to give him
who? Which one? Gobert or
no?
Rubio?
I'm talking about Rubio.
I'm not telling him this. I'm saying maybe 26, 27, 28 minutes a game.
That's
not a lot.
And his productivity is not as up as it was last year. It's kind of hard to be consistent in the transition.
You got to play to be productive. That's the whole point. You got to play to be productive.
Who can give you 5 minutes and give you boards, points, and all of that. And his name was
you're right.
Simpkins. His name was Dickie Simpkins, and he won three championships with the Chicago Bulls. So
I mean,
it doesn't matter about what time you have.
I think
what your productivity is when you're on the court.
I think the Jazz organization needs to do a better job at the rotations are what's really getting me. I think they need to do a better job and having the right rotations in and putting players with players that gel well together. I think that's the key thing is that they're just not doing that well. And I mean, let's look at Denver's 18-9 this year. Plumlee is playing 35 minutes. Hernan Gomez is playing 37. Jokic is playing 38. Murray is playing 36. And they're 18-9. They're playing well with these young and even getting older players playing the minutes. Jokic is a prominent defensive force. He's playing. He has been injured in the past, and he's playing 38 minutes a game. I'm not even telling you put Gobert 38 minutes. I'm telling you give you 28. Let him be productive. Let him be a force down low that he is and is known to be as a defensive player of the year, where he can be a force down low, get blocks, get boards, push the ball. He can do that, but they're not giving him the minutes he needs to do that. Nuggets are playing well because they're giving the guys that are productive minutes. They're even giving Plumlee 35 minutes a game. And he's been okay, but they're giving the guys that can play the game and they know that can play the game minutes. They're giving Markieff Morris 28 minutes a game. And so
these are two different organizations, two different head coaches, two different
but they're young and old people. And right now,
if you look at the
Denver's excelling.
That Denver has, and that if Utah Jazz was playing like they were last year, I'm pretty sure Ricky Rubio will have 30 minutes, Gobert will have 30 minutes, whatever. but these guys are not being productive when they're on the court. So we're going to take your minutes away. We're going to give other people opportunities to be that guy. We thought Grayson Allen of Wellington is disconnected, but he'll be back.
Shut up about
we
Grayson.
Thought Grayson
I can't
Allen,
stand Grayson Allen.
I can't stand him either, but everybody was big on him coming out of college. Everybody thought he was
They were
the guy.
stupid. I think he was big in high school, and that's it. Stop it.
I didn't like his play.
So, any white guy that comes out of Duke is just a douchebag. That's it. And
Whoa! JJ?
That's it.
Wait, JJ?
No, where did he go?
JJ Redick? He's been with the Magic. He's been with the Clippers. He's big.
JJ Redick is the one exception. But I hated him because he always beat North Carolina, and I hated him for that. But he was actually the only good. He was actually the only good guy, the white dude that has come out. Every one of them, like you look at the Plumlee brothers, you look at Kyle Singler was the worst. Kyle Singler, Grayson Allen, Christian Laettner of all the men. It's just history. That's my bias, obviously.
What about your guy? What about Hansborough or whatever his name, big center that he fizzled out? What about? There's a lot of guys that from North Carolina got to fizzle out.
What was Tyler Hansborough's problem? He was never nasty to anybody. He got in a fight with bloody nose, but he was never in the level of Grayson Allen tripping players. That's the level of Duke.
No, when he came out of North Carolina, he was big. He was the head of North Carolina.
He was, but everybody knew coming out of North Carolina he was going to be nothing in the NBA, and he showed it at Indiana. Everybody's like he was like Sean May was back in the day. Sean May, one of the greatest players in North Carolina basketball history. Everybody knew he wasn't going to do anything. He went to the Charlotte Bobcats, did nothing. We have a problem with North Carolina besides the great talent that we cultivated in Michael Jordan, and the likes of James Worthy. Especially in recent years, we had a problem with our big men not being able to play in the NBA. And but that's the thing that we know. We know that these players like Tyler Hansbrough, Sean May, they're not going to be good NBA players. They're fantastic, solid, great college players. But with the thing, let's go back to the Jazz. Well, yes, they're different systems. They're different systems, and I understand that. But if you consistently see with the good teams in the league is that they're and I've been looking through these teams. You get like the likes of the Raptors, the Bucks. They're giving the players they know how to play, who maybe even they're going to have droughts being productive, but they're not giving up on them. They're giving them the minutes because they know if they're good, they'll get back. And so what I'm seeing as a trend with Utah is they're diminishing the minutes of the players that they can play. Even the players that are playing well, they're not giving them minutes to. And I have a problem with that. Let them play the game. It's hard to.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
It's hard to. Yeah, go ahead. Where'd he go? It's hard to.
I think the next topic was Markelle Fultz.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that kid.
Yeah.
They finally diagnosed it. Finally.
How do you feel about that? You think it should be a trade, or what should they do with Markelle Fultz?
First off, Markelle Fultz should not have been the number one pick.
No.
Should have been mid-first round. That's what I thought about him. He played for a terrible Washington team. Come on. He should have traded him in the first year. It's like, what's going on with his shoulder? Why are you airballing free throws as a point guard? Doesn't make sense. But
it was also he had surgery on his wrist or something like that.
Yeah, I don't understand. He's probably, with maybe even worse than Kwame Brown, he is probably the biggest bust as the number one player to ever happen. Kwame Brown was terrible. Maybe we can go to Anthony Bennett, but everybody knew that the Cavaliers were stupid in drafting Anthony Bennett number one. That wasn't his fault.
Greg Oden. Greg
Oden, his fault was injuries. Markelle Fultz is just not that good of a player.
Well, I mean, before he was a pretty good player. He was pretty good at Kansas.
He never did anything. And so I think they need to trade him. I think it's good as Fultz's departure for this team. I think it's great for them because
even though if it's extremely early, you think they should get rid of him? You know, it's only his second year.
Yes. They don't need him. They haven't needed him. What has he done for them? Nothing. The only thing he's done for them
they do need his ability. They do need something else.
The only thing that he's done for this team is giving them uncertainty. And so for once in his whole career here, he has given them certainty in saying, okay, this is my problem. That's the only certainty he is giving them. And now that they have Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid is playing MVP caliber this whole season, is playing incredible ball. I mean, I keep remember seeing stats. It's just like 33 points, 38 points, 14 boards. Like, he's playing insane. They don't need Marco Fultz. They haven't needed him because he hasn't done anything for this team except give them uncertainty, get rid of him, maybe get a couple draft picks for him, maybe get a mid-level player or even a good player, but that is actually doing something in the league. Marco Fultz isn't doing anything. He needs to get help. He needs to get the shoulder problem fixed, and maybe then he'll be a good player. But I think he's the biggest bust to ever come into the league with the likes of Kwame Brown. He's just – you got to get him out of there. He only breathes uncertainty for this team, and they're doing plenty fine without him. Plenty fine.
That is that's pretty strong, man. But we gotta keep it moving. So OKC is playing pretty good with Paul George, and even with the kind of follies with Russell Westbrook. So what do you see? They're playing elite defense, and do you see them going the distance with this team that they have now?
First of all, let me say this. I'm shocked that there's a star besides Russell Westbrook that doesn't hate him. I'm shocked.
Wow.
Because
harsh words.
Because I know, right?
when OKC is the only team in NBA history to have 3 future MVPs on the same team and not win a title. They're the only team. Why? Because nobody can play with Westbrook. And Paul George is the first guy to be able to play with Westbrook and actually play his game. This is what I said about Oladipo. When Oladipo was there, I thought severely. I loved watching him play in Indiana when he came into the league. And when he's playing with OKC, I told people, Oladipo, if he got on another team, he'd be a superstar. And as soon as he left and went to Indiana, but bam, look at that, because Russell Westbrook wants the ball all to himself. And I think this is one of the glimpses that I've seen of Russell Westbrook actually letting somebody have the ball. Paul George. Paul George scored 31 the other night because Russell Westbrook is finally recognizing real as real. And he didn't do that before with the likes of James Harden and Kevin Durant. And they missed a huge opportunity to win championships with those 3. That's why I had a problem with Russell Westbrook, because he couldn't play with superstars. Nobody wanted to play with him. He diminished good players into decent players.
At all. James got traded away to the Houston Rockets. Organization is that. Now with the retrospect of Kevin Durant, I think Kevin Durant was a problem as well because he wants the ball too. Kevin Durant is a big.
But Kevin Durant makes people better.
I'm a huge fan of Kevin. No, he does not. Kevin Durant makes people better.
He has become a better facilitator in Golden State system, though.
Without Steph Curry on the court, and when KD's on the court running things, it's a big difference. But I don't want to get on.
Well, that's because we don't give enough credit to Stephen Curry.
Yeah,
because Stephen Curry is the MVP.
I don't think KD makes people better. Because you look at multiple players. You look at Dion Waiters. He left. He was a good player for OKC, but he left and became a greater player.
You know why he was a good player for him? Because Dion Waiters got good at a different team, then he just went to them. So the thing is with Steve Kerr is because he played under Popovich, that's how he can coach well.
Robinson was better without KD. He's better with Russell Westbrook. Adams became a great player because Russell Westbrook's pick and roll and his facilitating ability.
Yeah,
That's how Adams became a good player.
Steven Adams is a severely underrated player, and I'm giving you the fact that Russell Westbrook does. Steven Adams was probably the only player that Russell Westbrook actually made better, but he severely diminished his talent around him.
Who did KD make better? Because he's not making it worse, but he's making things worse.
KD makes people better because he draws.
I don't know about that.
He draws defenders to him, and
he has given them 2 straight titles.
KD has a team around him.
No, I'm not taking anything away from his talent. He's not. They were good without him.
Yeah.
Without him, he brought a chair.
Who, the Warriors or the Thunder? The Warriors, obviously, because
I'm talking about if he was such a good player and he was such a player and make everybody better, they wouldn't have dropped that 3-1 lead to the Warriors they had won, they would have dropped that. They would have won some championships.
And they should have won
that.
That was their fault.
And I'll give you that. Russell Westbrook does take some ill-advised shots. He takes some stupid shots at the 3-point line.
Did you see the stats last year? When he shot 8 or 9 threes or more a game, they had like a 0.1 something win percentage. When he shoots the ball too much, they lose. That's what happens. So that's what he's learning from. He's learning from with this. And so I think he's grown in his game with Paul George there, because when KD and James Harden and Russell Westbrook were there, there were 3 young players that all wanted the ball to themselves. And so that's the clashing there. But when Kevin Durant left, he was better without Russell Westbrook. When James Harden left, he was better without him. Now, obviously, they became the main players of the team.
Went to another team without those starters, do you think he would have still been that great player?
He would have made now we're talking hypotheticals, but yes, I think he would be. I think he would be.
He went to a situation where it was already good. Like they had a
I think he would. I think if he went to another team, he would have been better. He would have been just as good, because that's his type of player. His type is how he looks, how he plays is a very rare breed in the NBA, and you have to admit
I just don't see that.
And but with Westbrook though, but the one thing with Westbrook though that I wanted to point out, he last year, I mean, he was number 1 in touches per game, 95.7, and now he's at number 3, 86.5, and he's taking fewer shots, 19.4. But they also acquired Dennis Schroeder, and now when Westbrook isn't on
a good point guard.
Yeah, and now when Westbrook isn't on the floor and George is there, he's not the only person who has to generate offense. Schroeder is also able to do that as well. So how much do you attribute the addition of Schroeder and having maybe Westbrook play more off ball than he usually does?
I contributed actually a lot to Dennis Schroeder, because Dennis Schroeder, he was for a while really the only good player in Atlanta, and he was such a stud, and he made that team win the games that they ever won. So bringing the likes and talents of Dennis Schroeder to this team, I think has relieved a lot of the stress off of Russell Westbrook, and I think has opened Westbrook's eyes to other people on the court, and that's why he allows Paul George to do what he does, because he's finally, as I said earlier, he's recognizing real as real, and he's recognized Paul George as real, and he's recognized Dennis Schroeder as a really decent player, and Schroeder is a good point guard, and what Schroeder has done is he has an incredible job of the coaching staff and the management there to be able to facilitate what Scott Brooks could not do, is facilitate good players under great players and have them work together cohesively. So this organization, and it's surprising to me because I didn't think Russell Westbrook could ever do this, is play well with a good superstar. And so what he's doing now is he's grown up in this game. He's grown up, and while he still has a lot of touches, but he's letting Paul George do his thing. He's letting Dennis Schroeder do his thing, and that's why they're winning. And their defense is incredibly good. And I've always admired Russell Westbrook's tenacity and his toughness and his defensive ability. When you have the likes of Dennis Schroeder around him, who also plays good defense, they're giving him a breath off, and you're giving him, okay, I can relax now because I have players around me that I know can do the job. And when he was young, even with James Harden and Kevin Durant, he didn't have the mindset. He said, I have to do it all by myself. And he had that for years, but I think now he's finally realizing I don't need to do this all by myself because I actually have people on this court. I'm realizing that people on this court can play the game of basketball. That's why they're here. And so if this mindset with him, the cohesiveness that he and Paul George obviously had since last year, Paul George fell in love with the team and fell in love with Russell Westbrook. And so now that they have this cohesiveness, if they keep up this tenacity on defense and this cohesiveness as a team, and he keeps trusting his teammates, I think they'll have a deep run to the playoffs. And I think they'll consistently be in the top 3 of the league all year. But they have to have this mindset of Russell Westbrook. You don't do everything. You have people with you. And Russell Westbrook needs to keep that mindset with him. And I think if he does, they're going to be great. And it's a shocking thing to me. I think they're the most shocking team in the league, just because who expects them to be number 1 after last year? They were just last year. And the thing is, he's letting people play their game finally, and while he's playing his. And so I think that's what the beauty that has come out with this team, and the organization, the management, the coaching have been great. have been absolutely great. So if they keep this up, man, they're going to be a tough team to stop in postseason. Anybody there?
Yeah, I'm still. I guess
All right.
Wellington is.
Wellington.
So we're gonna move on.
What's your take on it, Savon? What's your take on the OKC thing?
Which point? The point of them having great defense, or Russell Westbrook finally
can
playing?
They keep this up? So your mindset of Russell Westbrook's how he's grown as a player and how much has this affected the success of the team?
Well, I think it just went back to when Paul George decided to stay, and them throwing a party, saying, "Okay, I'm staying. I'm not going over." I think that relationship built. I think Paul George is definitely an unselfish player. He's a selfless player, and I think KD, when you bring two players that are selfish and want the ball, of course, it's going to cause friction. I don't think people always pointed back on Russell, but never pointed to KD. But now everybody's seeing how evil and selfish KD really is as a player. But now you get a selfless player like Paul George who knows how to play team basketball. Then that brings it inadvertently. It shows you and plant seeds in the other players. And I think that's what Russell. And I do agree. You saying Russell is realizing I can't shoot as much when I'm off. I have to dish and let other people do what they do. And I think that's the most important thing that Russell is. That's the game, the type of his game that Russell is missing. And now he's realizing, and I totally agree with what you said. Now he's realizing that's how they're playing good basketball. But they definitely can. If Schroeder is continuing to play well and Robertson can come back and be healthy because he's a good wing player and defensive player, and Adam and all these Jeremy Grant is still playing good. He's a guy that's not talked about a lot. But they have the ability to go the distance. Go to the finals, I don't say that, but they do have the amount of talent.
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far either, but they do have the amount of talent to be successful and get that and just continue to build off that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. They have the defensive versatility to be able to push the – I mean, outside of Golden State, who is like the second most elite team? I would think OKC would be that.
In the West?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The West has just been so weird this year.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm trying to look up the standings, but this year has just been wacky with the teams that are up top and the teams that are down low. I mean, last year's playoff teams, we have four that are not in the top 8. You've got the Spurs, the Pelicans, who are for some reason doing terrible. You've got the Jazz and Houston down there. You've got 4, and then so these 4 new teams are like, hey, we're actually playing well. And so it's weird. Like, I don't know what's going on in the West. It's just weird to me. But, I mean, the obvious consistent targets to look at is obviously the Warriors. But I think we'll consistently be seeing is how surprising the Nuggets have been. And I think the Nuggets can do well. I mean, Jamal Murray is just becoming a superstar overnight. He's an incredible player. And when you combine him with Jokic, you're going to have a solid team. And so I think, Denver's third in the West right now. And so unless New Orleans, 5, because Minnesota wasn't Minnesota number 8 last year in the playoffs, or am I thinking of? Okay,
no, you're right.
You've got San Antonio, New Orleans, Minnesota, Utah, and Houston all out of the top 8 right now. And so what you have now is you have Denver, you have the Clippers, you have the Lakers, Memphis, Dallas, and Portland's number 8. So they're not even playing well. And so there's really no other consistent team. But as we talked about with OKC, if they continue with this mindset, I think either them or Denver will become the more consistent team. If LeBron and the Lakers don't keep it up, I think they started off rough, obviously. I was like, what's going on here? But they finally picked it up. But I think we'll begin to see a transition of top tier power in the West to the Nuggets, and I think the Nuggets are going to, with just the young talent they have, and they're playing so well, I think they can actually do something in the West. I I can't go as far as to say as any of these teams except the Warriors go to the finals because the Warriors are so stacked. It's just crazy. But I think, OKC gives them a run for their money. I think Denver can. I think Denver's just young, so I think in a couple of years they can actually be the powerhouse in the West, depending on what happens with the Warriors and trading with Kevin Durant or, you can't really give a number 2 in the West because everybody's so inconsistent and shocking this year.
Yeah.
So, you're back. Okay. I was gonna.
This is the Mike and Savon show, by the way, guys. This is the Mike and Savon. I'm not here.
I was gonna move on to the.
You're kind of like Will Kane.
But transitioning to Katie's comments with the Bleacher Report last week, he was pretty much discussing just kind of the unforeseen struggles of having to play with LeBron, and I don't think it was really him saying, okay, you really can't coexist with a player like LeBron, but there are struggles and there can be. It's not as clear of a path as some would say, because we've seen Jimmy Butler, like when he made his list, the Lakers went on there. Kawhi, there was the report of him not wanting to be the second fiddle. So what were your guys' thoughts on? To me, it was something that kind of was just stating the obvious, but some may have taken it as, okay, why aren't people just jumping on board to other superstars jumping on board to go play in LA?
I kind of just goes to what we're saying about Kawhi. Is nobody as a superstar wants to be second, and they want to be the main player, and that you need to try to find out. LeBron has the highest IQ in the game. To me, in my opinion, there's nobody with a higher IQ in the game right now than LeBron James. And he can make players great. He can, but as a superstar. Let's say, there are rumors of the Lakers wanting to trade for Anthony Davis. This just happened today. I saw an article that I saw with Express the Spurs are not the Spurs. The Lakers are wanting to get Anthony Davis in the trade. I think there are certain roles that won't work well with LeBron, such as shooting guard through power forward. I don't think work well with him because he wants the ball. I think a big man could work actually really well with LeBron because now LeBron doesn't have to be the big man anymore. While he can play the first 4, you need a 5. And so I think having the 5 spot, and I think Anthony Davis could be a good thing. And I know we're going to talk about Anthony Davis in Boston in a minute. But I think having a 5 in the superstar spot can actually blend well with LeBron. But I think being in the shadow of the second best player in the league, no superstar wants to be in the shadow of LeBron James because it dims their own spotlight. Just as Scottie Pippen was dimmed by Michael Jordan, nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to be that shadow of the second greatest player to play the game in the history of the game. Nobody wants to be in that shadow as a superstar and established superstar. Nobody wants that. No, people want to be like Russell Westbrook and Paul George, who are coexisting superstars and not in anybody's shadow because they don't have this legacy that LeBron James has. That's why they can do that in the Warriors, because nobody, while they were established superstars, nobody had a legacy. They were young players like Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry coming together and Klay Thompson. They can all coexist as superstars and play well. But when you have LeBron James, the daunting legacy that he has, nobody wants to be in that shadow as a superstar. They want to be able to coexist with superstars, not be in the shadow. I think that's why Kevin Durant made the comments, and I think that's why he's right, because nobody wants to be that shadow. And I think the only position that really works well as not a shadow, as minimum of a shadow as possible, is that center position, because they have their own separate role. But even then, you're going to be in the shadow of LeBron James, and I just don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's not as like Kevin Love. I think he was being interviewed by in an article by Brian Windhorst, and he was saying that there's going to be months that you're going to be extremely out of it, wondering if you fit in the mix in terms of being able to coincide with him. But at the end of the year in June, you're going to be playing for the finals. You're going to be in having an Eastern Conference Finals berth.
Right.
So, say, do you think the end result is kind of what overrides players, high level players, being able to see like the obvious upside of playing with LeBron?
You have to see. Well, let's first start off the guys that play with LeBron James in their careers. You have young guys, and you have guys that are telling their career that want to win basketball games and get to the end result, and that's why you play basketball. So you have a guy like Kevin Durant who wants to go be a guy somewhere else. You go to the Warriors, okay. How is that any different from playing with one superstar? You have 5 superstars you're playing with, and you want to be the guy. But I think Tyson Chandler said the best. You have to find a way to coexist and realize it's a sacrifice to winning. And that's where it's the guys that are in their prime, like Kyrie. Kyrie's still in his prime. I understand why he wanted to leave and be the guy. But you have guys like Tyson Chandler, Ray John Rondo, these other guys that want to win. You have a guy like Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, who came to the Cavaliers to win championships because they know they're at a time in their career where that's where they know they'll win with LeBron James. You have to take the
exactly
good,
why,
the bad, and the
because
ugly.
they're old and waning. They're old and waning. They're not superstars anymore.
And that's fine. And that's where people, the players are looking at their career. You look at Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony had the opportunity to go to a team to win championships. He chased dollar signs and he waited too late to chase championships. That's why his career kind of dwindled. But you look at guys like I just mentioned, they want to win championship. That's most important to them. So they're going to suck it up and play basketball with LeBron James, who's the best player in the NBA. That's the good and the bad and the ugly. Playing with the Warriors, KD, you get so many personalities that have the Warriors have. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, number 1. Klay Thompson. That's when they had Harrison Barnes. They had all these guys.
Yeah.
You only deal with the I guess the limelight not that much. You can focus on basketball. LeBron James is taking all of the heat. You don't have to deal with that. He's taking all of that. He just wants you to play basketball.
But that's not their.
I think that's the most important thing you gotta realize when you play basketball with LeBron James.
I don't think their mindset at all is worrying about taking heat because they're already superstars anyway. They're going to get it. They're worried about the glory, and this is the difference of the players that you mentioned is solely they're not superstars anymore. They're waning. They just won a championship. And while Rajon Rondo I think has a championship. And but they want something later. They want something, all right, I can go out in peace now as this NBA. I can retire when I get this championship. So that's what they're looking for, and they're looking for the great addition in LeBron James in doing that. But this is why all the other players are different. This is why because KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all stars. 3 superstars in KD, Klay, and Steph Curry. You've got these 3, but right now, I mean, obviously they're winning championships, so they're getting the best of both worlds. But what they want now, what they have wanted as young players in the league, is to be the limelight. Because while Scottie Pippen, the Hall of Fame player, he didn't. Well, the difference now and then is he didn't worry about being the star that he knew he was, and he was a superstar, and he could have been an even better superstar had he not been in the shadow of Michael Jordan. But these guys are all about the glory now. Well, now they're thinking, how can I be all the glory with all the winning? How can I be the greatest player while winning 3 championships? This is how they're doing that. So they're teaming up together, but they're able to share cohesive superstardom by not being in anybody's shadow because none of them have established a legacy far and long enough as LeBron has to be in the shadow of anybody else. That's why you see the cohesiveness
just adding to
of all
that,
these players.
They're still in the shadows of each other. You look at the friction
but they're really not.
caused from players that playing at the Warriors. Steph Curry is still the face of the Warriors, even when KD's there.
But KD gets his
Klay
thing
Thompson,
because
no, I'm just saying, like, with the amount of talent that the Warriors have, it's going to cause friction somewhere. That's when Draymond Green and KD.
That's why I think
it doesn't matter what to. Now you said about Scottie Pippen that he was selfless. These guys are not selfless anymore. And I totally agree with what you're saying.
But
the
that's
type
what,
of
as
players
they get
that
older, they will
play
be.
with LeBron James, like they're young guys and they're guys that understand. Okay, I chased the money so long and I missed opportunities to win championships.
What you have,
that I want to win championships.
Mm-hmm.
But to go on into the superstars, like play with LeBron James, but they don't have the opportunity to play with LeBron James.
Yeah.
So
with these players with LeBron, is you have the old guys and the up and comers, but not superstars. But we're talking about strictly the superstar that KD brought up.
Opportunity to play with LeBron James. They don't have the opportunity because
they don't really care about that because they're superstars. They don't really care.
They do care about that. They know where to go to win basketball
especially
games.
With the Warriors.
The
Warriors are not worrying about playing with LeBron James because they're winning basketball games.
Of course, they built something from the ground up,
right?
And they consist. They have one of the best coaches in the league. That's different. I'm talking about guys
but guys like KD, Kawhi, and Clay, they don't need that extra motivation to play with LeBron because they already have one at the highest level.
They don't need that. I'm talking about other superstars. Damian Lillard wants to leave, but he doesn't have the opportunity to come play with LeBron
Damian Lillard,
because
Damian Lillard is. I mean, I admire this kid's loyalty. He loves Rip City. He loves Portland, but the management there is so astronomically terrible. But for some reason, he still loves it there. And so that's why Damian Lillard, well, he's a superstar. He's in a situation where his team's not playing well, and I think I don't know if going to LeBron. That's what I'm saying because I don't know if they can blend well together. Now I love Damian Lillard. They can blend well
together. I think they would. I think they'd blend well together.
If anybody could do it, if any point guard could do it, it could be Damian Lillard because he is a different kind of point guard.
A dominant scorer.
But the thing is, his blessing and curse is his love for his team, and he's so loyal. Like, apart from DeMar DeRozan, he's probably the most loyal person in the league. He loves his team, and I think he loves them so much to a fault that he will stay there as long as he will because he just loves it, and doesn't matter how bad they are. I mean, right now they're 8th. What last year they were 3rd?
Yeah.
A third in the West. So
they were 3rd and lost to the Pelicans.
But the thing is, with this superstar, is they're not putting anybody around him. They're not putting any around the superstar like every other team in the league. With the exception of the Golden State Warriors, you don't need to put anybody around them. They'll win the game. But they did it for Kawhi. They brought in Gordon Hayward, and they're bringing all these players in for Kyrie. This is what we need. For Kawhi, they're doing it for Kawhi. And they're trying to do it for Donovan Mitchell as a budding superstar and bringing a three-point shooter in with Kyle Korver and having Joe Ingles and having a dominant center. So what the Portland Trailblazers are doing and failing to do with DamianLlillard is they're not giving him the players and they're not showing any effort to give him players. And that's why they're struggling.
For LeBron James. But since we're talking about opportunities to play with LeBron James, where does Anthony Davis go?
Yeah.
Anthony
Boston has the biggest treasure chest of assets to offer, though.
But that is true. Yeah. Boston.
But I do think, well, I mean, he's eligible for a supermax contract extension this summer. And so
it depends on how bad the Pelicans do this season.
Yeah.
Because last year they were mid-level. Right now they're I think 4th or 5th worst.
He's going to LA.
Conference.
He's definitely going to LA.
I think Davis's pick fully depends on how the season pans out. And if the Pelicans pick it back up and make it to the playoffs, and while they're either 4th or 5th like they were last year, but they do something, I think but I don't think even then he'll stay. Boston, I don't think they're going to give up anything. Boston has a more upside in their
Savon,
negotiation.
If I say I'm willing to give up Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum, another first-round pick, would you do it?
Well, this is the craziest thing. If he opts out to not sign the max contract, then all that is null and void anyway. He goes into the free agency and he picks to where he want to go. That's what's going to happen. I think Anthony Davis is telling his career where he realizes I've had max contracts before. They're not giving me players. They're not giving me enough. So I'm going to leave. I want a championship. That's what Utah Brown is saying. I want a championship. So he's going to go to the team where he can go to win a championship.
Lakers and the rumors that they're wanting to trade. Who are the Lakers going to trade for that is worthy enough?
They're not going to trade.
Pelicans. That's actually what they're going to try to do. They said they want to trade, and it just came out about 5 or 6 hours ago. 5 or 6 hours ago that they're actually pushing for a trade for Anthony Davis. And so,
but it's not going to go through.
Right, it shouldn't. My thing is, who do you have? First of all, the Pelicans won't take any bait. There's nobody on the Lakers team that they want for Anthony Davis.
Oh,
There's
I
nobody.
Say that
you can't give him the whole team and still be better than Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a one of a kind center, and so I think it'll go to.
They have enough money. They have enough money.
Right.
They have picks that the Pelicans can use in the face of losing Anthony Davis.
Boston could extremely benefit from him, but I mean, Al Horford's still playing good. I know he's getting older. Aaron Baines is a solid defensive player. Again, none of them are near Anthony Davis. But as I said, I think it's so up in the air that it really depends on how these teams, how the Lakers, Pelicans, and Boston do this season. And that's, I think, how it pans out. If Boston picks it up and makes another run, I think Davis can see them as look, if I'm on that team, we win the championship.
So that's the thing, though. They already have a amount of talent that they don't know what to do with. They don't know what lineup goes with what. I don't think Anthony Davis.
And that's why they have something to work with.
Situation.
That's why they got something to work with, because now this is the thing. I think what happened with last year is now they have these young, proven playoff people that were thrown into the limelight because of injuries and played well. Now they have room to work with a trade, or if they want to pick up Anthony Davis, they have these studs that they can trade for draft picks or role players and other decent players just with a little less money. They have room to work with to get Anthony Davis with trades with these now proven players like Terry Rozier and Jason Tatum, who I think they should never, ever trade until he does absolutely terrible in the season. Jason Tatum is the next player for Boston to do something for them, and they would be a fool to get rid of Jason Tatum. Now, I know he's struggling this year, but I mean, it's common to have a second-year problems. But I think Jason.
But you wouldn't do that for Anthony Davis. You wouldn't give him up for Anthony Davis.
If it was Jason Tatum for Anthony Davis, yeah, I would do that. I would do that trade. But I'm saying if you can get Anthony Davis without a trade, such as the free agency, I think the players you need to look at getting away are Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier and Marcus Morris. Those are the three you need to try to give away for decent talent or try similar level talent, but that will willingly pay less money or willingly work for less money and play for less money because they see an opportunity with Gordon Hayward, Kyrie, and Anthony Davis and Jason Tatum. And so those are the three that I think if they wanted to get Anthony Davis, those are the three that I would try to give away first. If they can get him in a free agency and work around those three. But Lakers seem like a valuable option. Like they can get a max contract from these free agents, and I think Anthony Davis will play well with LeBron. But the thing is, we don't know how long he could play till 45. I don't know. We'll see. But again, it's all up to how well these teams do this season. That's my thing.
All right.
What do you think, Devon?
I agree to a certain extent, but I think that's a good perspective, though. I really do. But we have to end the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's
been wow. This is the longest podcast. Yeah, it was fun. We have to bring you back.
It feels like it was long, but I don't mind it. I mean, this is like a 2-hour thing.
Yeah, normally it's like an hour, but I think what got us was the LeBron James.
I think that was it.
Yeah, that one took it. I really got into it then.
So then the Spurs thing as well, and yeah, it was great. I mean, I love somebody that. I mean, I like it that you have opinions. I like people that have opinions, and that's why I like debating. If people don't have opinions, it's not fun. So you got opinions and you thought about it, and I mean, it's no fun debating somebody that isn't willing to change their position. It was fun because I'm willing to change mine. And I can see different points, but I think Wellington.
I think Wellington pulled off. So I just ended. This has never been another episode of Full Scope. Thank you, Micah, for joining us today. He's our special guest today. But tune in next week. We'll be back. This has been
thanks for having me, man.
All right, man, Micah.
All right.